Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 Overload. I am Peter, that is Matt. We talk about movies on this show. This is our monthly movie show in which I pick a film that I love, Matt picks a film that he loves, and we put up for a vote on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Our patrons vote for which one we'll do, and the winner this month was Matt's pick, is The Ghost and the Darkness from 1996.
Yep.
Which I had never seen before. Not only had I never seen this, I had never heard of this film when you picked this.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is this thing? And it turns out it's basically Jaws, but with a lion.
Jaws in the grass.
Yes, Jaws in the grass.
So
Instead of water, it's long
eloquently put it.
grass. Instead of a shark, it's a lion. And there's your movie.
It's multiple lions.
Well, but yeah, it turns out to be multiple lions. I feel like, I don't know if is that spoiler territory, Matt? I don't know.
No, because that's what the
Sure,
title's
okay,
referring
sure,
to.
yeah. And I assume this was a true story because when I got to the end, it was like, oh, the bones of these lions can be found in this. I was like, oh, I guess this was a true story. Okay.
Yeah. So fun story about this movie and me. So I saw this movie in '96 when it first came out, probably on video. I can't imagine my parents taking me to see this at the theater. And it's an adventure movie. It's set in Africa. Batman was in it. Well, one of the Batmans. So
well, it was the Batman at the time. This was a year
excited.
after Forever, so.
Yeah. Right. So I was super stoked to watch this. And then you get to the end, and then it says that thing where you can see the lions of Tsavo at the Chicago Field Museum. And since I was 11, it has been a mission of mine to get to Chicago to go to this field museum and see these lions. So, and funnily enough, a YouTuber that I watch went last summer and did like a video around it, and I got weirdly emotional, like actually seeing them, like the exhibit, even despite the fact that it was on YouTube and not in person. But yeah.
Well, yeah, so we'll start spoiler free as we do, and we'll give you a warning in the middle before we get to spoilers. Premise is pretty simple. Val Kilmer plays John Henry Patterson, who is tasked with killing. He's not tasked with killing anything. He's tasked with building a bridge in Africa, in Savo specifically, and he goes there. Although there was this weird thing in the movie where I felt like he kept referring to Africa as a country, and I thought that was really weird. He kept saying this country.
Because so what I think he was using it in the grand sense of like the region he was in.
Yeah, the country.
Like the countryside. Being that, because they're not close to civilization. Like they're out in the middle.
He did it so many
plains.
times. I was starting to think, does he not know that Africa's a continent? Like, do we have to explain this to him? You know?
Yeah, and it's also British Africa, because this is set in 1898, during the grand days of the British
Empire.
Yeah,
he's rocking an accent as well.
It's kind of all over the place.
I think it was supposed to be Irish, but I'm not really sure.
Yep. Yeah, he's Irish because he has one of my favorite lines that I picked up on this time was as he's writing his wife. He says that God invented alcohol.
He said I thought he said he was writing his wife. I was like, I don't remember that scene.
No, writing. God invented alcohol to keep the Irish from conquering the world. So I was like, yep, that must be. He's talking about his fellow countrymen.
The accent was a bit rough. I'm not gonna lie. He was a bit on the weird side.
So I've seen this movie countless times, and this was the first time that I realized he was supposed to be Irish. Because it's super heavy. Like I haven't watched it open to like beginning to end in one sitting in quite a while. Because this is one that when it's on TV, I'll stop and watch it until I'm doing whatever else I have to do. And it's very strong in the beginning, but by the end, he's just kind of Val Kilmer. So it's
well, torment pushes you through it, and you lose your accent apparently. But so he's there to build the bridge. He's done this before in other countries, and he comes to Savo to build a bridge. Tom Wilkinson hires him, who's an awful person, by the seems of it. And while he's there, he's befriending the locals. There's a lion attack. He actually quickly kills the lion. And the comparisons to Jaws this is where I really started comparing it to Jaws, because all I could remember was all I could think about, because the entire all the workers who are there to build the bridge, the local people, they all start cheering. This really sweet music starts playing, and all I could think about was the scene in Jaws where they've killed a shark, not the shark, and Quint's over on the boat laughing. That's all I could think about during this scene. And I'm like, this is basically just Jaws, but in the grass. So basically, lion attacks keep happening. There's two big lions, and eventually the Quint of this movie, Michael Douglas's Charles Remington, comes in, and that's kind of so they team up, and this is kind of the Brody and the Quint teaming up to take on the Lions.
Yeah. So Kilmer's character is basically Brody and Hooper in one package, because I was watching this with my wife, and she started to pick up on the Jaws in the grass aspect as he's naming. So he's sitting on the front of a train with the it's someone that was sent ahead of him. I wasn't quite sure what his role was, and he's naming off all the animals. And the guy's like, "Oh, you've been in Africa 24 hours. I've been here for a year, and you already know more than I do." So my wife's like, "Wait, is he supposed to be a biologist, or is he building the bridge?" I was like, "Well, I think he's both," because they build up the fact that he's this big game hunter, and he's used to dealing with animals in these climates. So, but yeah, they get around that pretty easy with him as both of those kind of characters.
Well, yeah, pretty much. So obviously you like the movie, you picked it, and it sounds like it's a very personal movie to you. I thought it was just okay. Basically,
yeah,
I mean, honestly, kind of mediocre overall, if I'm honest. Like,
it does drag it. Again, this is the first time I've watched it all the way through. And
my first thought was the opening 10 minutes you could just cut out of the movie. Like the whole scene where he goes to Tom Wilkinson and he gives him the job. I'm like, I don't really need this. You could just start with him arriving and just get all this from context and a little bit of exposition here or there. It's too long, far too long.
Yeah. Also, Michael Douglas' character doesn't come in until super late. You know, I feel like he would have been kind of needed earlier. Also, when I was a kid, he was like my favorite character in the movie. As I get older, I'm just like, yeah, that's not a good character at all. Like, he's just kind of there to be like this gruff American, know-it-all.
I don't get a whole lot of character from him, bizarrely. Like, I feel like they forgot to develop what the character was supposed to be, so he's just kind of going through the motions of this outsider who's like this big hunter.
Yeah, so I did some research on this because I figured, judging by what we didn't really talk about the movie, but I could tell from your tone from knowing you for so long now, that we weren't going to be able to have a very long discussion about the merits of the movie. So I did some background research on production and like the actual story. So once we get into the spoiler section, I can drop some knowledge on this Remington character. But I will say right now, he's actually a complete fabrication. In the real life story, there was no Remington.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah. So basically, once he shows up, it stops being that true to life. It goes off into this.
Yeah, because it becomes about them bonding.
Really
they don't like each other at first, but then they bond, and then it's this bigger thing.
Yep.
There's a couple of laughable scenes. There's a nightmare sequence at one point that made me laugh my ass off.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So that was like a thing. I mean, honestly, I think my biggest problem with the movie, all in the fact that the pacing's really bad and it's too long, is that the lion attacks and like the lion like scenes where they're hunting the lions are actually not that exciting. They're just kind of boring.
Yeah, because they're using real lions, and real lions are very dangerous. So there's not much you can do, and CG wasn't where it is now. Like, I'd love to see a version of this movie now. Yeah, with what they could do.
It was just kind of, I don't know, it was like dull. And it's directed by Stephen Hopkins, who I actually know who that is because he directed Predator 2, he directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. Not a particularly good Nightmare on Elm Street, in my opinion. But I like Predator 2. Predator 2 is a fun movie, but it's a really schlocky fun movie. I feel like this movie, much like Jaws with a different director is not Jaws. And I feel like...
Oh, yeah. I watched Jaws 2 for the first time this year. Jaws 2 is good. Like, you put that property in the hands of someone that's not Steven Spielberg, and it goes off a cliff.
You need a director who's really good with tension and building up suspense and building up the scenes. And I feel like this movie's like, no, this is Jaws without a Spielberg level director. This is someone who just does coverage and doesn't really build the threat as it's going on. Because I never really felt it. Like I got in theory that every night the lion would come out and like kill one or two of the workers, and they're all scared about it. And the movie's very cheesy and on the nose. Like I say, at the start when he kills that first lion that is not really the lion, they all cheer and this like music swells up and it's like super cheesy 90s, and it felt very mid 90s to me. This felt like a super 90s movie, and in most of the worst ways, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 90s through and through. Even so, we get to the part of the score where the score like soars
Mm-hmm.
up, like you're talking about when he kills the lion. And I was like, that's Jerry Goldsmith, because I know, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
scores that well, but from going to Disneyland a lot, there's a ride called Soarin' over California. Now it's just Soarin', where they use a lot of his scores because they're these big, grand sounding. And I've heard that score in there before, and I went, "That's Jerry Goldsmith." And I looked it up, and sure enough, and it's very indicative of that time period because he also did the score, I think, for Air Force One, which is around the
Mm.
same era and whatnot. So actually, that's a movie I should add to the list of stuff for
Um,
Overload.
like obviously Jerry Goldsmith's a fantastic composer, but it feels out of place in
Yeah.
this movie because it feels like the first half hour of the movie feels like it's going for this. Oh, he's this great white hunter who's come to the village and everyone
Yep.
loves him because he saved us all. And it does feel kind of like that. It's like this is a movie set in Africa, but it's like two white guys who are
Hmm.
the main characters. So it's very much
Yeah.
a product of, well, the last 100 years of cinema, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very much an imperialist story, being that like he was sent
yeah,
by Britain to build this bridge in
but
British
this is where I'm
Africa,
getting up
and
with the music though, is that it feels out of place because I feel like no, like again, compare it to Jaws. Jaws has dun, dun, yeah,
well,
that's
there's
yeah.
tension. And with Jerry Goldsmith, I don't feel tension. Like I said, there are these big
He does
soaring.
wonderment. He does adventure, and
Yeah.
like I feel like trying to sell this as an adventure movie is kind of the wrong tone to go with.
Yeah, it should have been a thriller, um, like a horror
Yeah, and
thriller.
it is
Like you should have,
technically by what's
yeah.
happening, but
But you don't, but you
yeah,
don't feel it, and that's why. So I think I keyed into it as a kid because I was a kid that was afraid of scary movies. Like I wasn't
mm,
allowed, so I had this mentality, and so this and like Anaconda would put me right up to the edge that I was allowed to watch. You know, so I think I pull more towards the adventure, and that's what I love about this movie. Not so much the lion attacks, and plus the all the history that it's based on is right in
mm,
my niche. But I totally get what you're saying. Like there's very little tension. I found myself like just going through the
yeah,
paces of all right. Well, when are we gonna get
and
the lion? How many more times is the lion gonna sneak into the
and it's not that
camp?
I can't enjoy
You
some of
know?
these things, but I typically don't like some of the tropes here of movies set like in the past of when he sits down with the letter and he's like writing to his wife and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
things are getting tense here, and I mean I'm not even doing an Irish accent, I'm just doing an English one, but
No.
like things are getting tense here, the men are getting scared, but I'm doing my best, I'm trying my best, I hope I long to see my newborn son, the first chance I can
Yeah.
get, my beloved, and I'm like, shut up. Let's go on with the plot.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I would love to see this because this concept, the Lions of Savo, has been made into movies like 3 or 4 times. I think this is the most recent, but I definitely would love to see like a Blumhouse version of this where
A
it's a little
Blumhouse
more
version,
ghastly
oh
with the
my.
lion attacks. Yeah. It was a low budget, right? But still, the stuff you can do with a low budget
I don't know, if you want the CG
now
line, Matt, you're
versus
going to have to go bigger
96.
budget than Blumhouse.
Okay, maybe okay. Who's what's a production that's a little bit bigger than Blumhouse that does horror? They kind of cornered that market.
Yeah, I feel like you're looking at like
Oh, you
Lionsgate
know
or
what?
something at that point, but
Well, I don't want Del Toro, but give me one of Del Toro's guys and his production company, and then you can get the good set design, the CG lions, and then tell the story a little more to
yeah,
life.
I feel like
Man,
the movie as well, like it does this thing where they talk about the lions as if they're not really just lions, they're otherworldly, there's
supernatural.
supernatural elements to
Mhm.
them. They've got this fire in their eyes. It's not really, they work together in ways that lions don't work together. They are the biggest, the baddest, and the most interesting lions of all time. The problem is that they tell me that they don't show me that. Like I feel like if
Right.
like because I mean, obviously in Jaws is a big thing where they talk about this as like a giant shark, but beyond that, they
Yeah.
don't go into the mentality of the shark too much in terms of what this does with the lions. And
Right.
I feel like if you want to show me that these are the scariest and the biggest, the baddest lions of all time, then just show me them being scary instead of telling me it. And
Right.
I go, well, sure, it's scary because it's a lion, but like I'm not seeing anything different out of these lions than what I'd necessarily expect.
Well, the one part that gets me that I would agree with almost all the other ones except when they attack that at that one
Hmm.
night and and one of them climbs up onto the roof and then jumps down on him. Or that was actually in the day. The night scene's a different one, but they have the same kind of
Hmm.
thing. Because as far as I know, the way that lions hunt is not they're not necessarily ambush predators like that. So if that had really happened, I could see how the locals would think like, oh no, these are evil spirits. These aren't actual
Yeah, that's fair.
lions.
I guess what I'm saying is that
But
in the filmmaking, they're not selling me on the presence of them as
mhm.
much.
Well, yeah. So I the way that they do a lot of it is you're getting the lion's POV, which is weird. Because if you want to sell on me that they're supernatural, you have them just kind of appear, right? There's no sign, kind of like I don't want to say like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, 'cause that's a little bit too far. But you're not kind of like the raptors during that scene where they get
Hmm.
Muldoon. You really, but again, that's
That's
Spielberg.
true.
He's a
Yeah, we're back to
master,
Spielberg.
um, right? But how when they get Muldoon, you don't even really see him until it launches at him. And you could kind of do that with these lions where you're not even aware that they're watching you until it's too
Yeah,
late.
I feel like in my head I can see like a scene where someone's in the long grass and they know something's there but they
Mm,
can't quite see it, and then there's
yeah.
just a giant slow motion shot of a lion jumping at them. Like that's like a thing I could see in my head. But I mean, and I get
Yeah.
again I know that you
So
can't just do that with a lion, but
yeah. Well, that's what kills me is the lion attack scenes here are almost comical because how bad the editing and however they got these lions to attack that way. It's just like that dream
yeah,
sequence you were
it's
talking
very
about.
choppy because they have to.
Yeah.
Because they've got real footage of lions, but obviously they can't have the lions anywhere near the
Mhm.
actors, so it's a lot of
Right.
really choppy close-ups and various things.
Yeah.
It's
Which I find a little bit charming because it is a mid '90s movie, right? But I totally get the problems with
I feel
it.
like maybe if I saw this as a kid, I might have some sort of nostalgia and it
Yeah.
might work for me better. But as someone watching it for the first time in 2018, it's not offering me a whole lot.
I can't blame you, and this is why I did
Yes.
research for the spoiler section. Because it is one of those ones that I am deeply nostalgic for, and I recognize it for all
Yeah.
its
I mean,
flaws.
worth mentioning,
But
Emily Mortimer's got a small role. She's the wife who's left behind
yeah,
in jolly old London town. Um, and but anyway, so yeah, we'll give the spoiler warning. I think we'll go full spoilers from here on out for the Ghost in the Darkness, which is obviously what they call the lions. The locals, that's what they call them.
yeah,
So yeah, I want to talk about this nightmare sequence. So after he's had some encounters with the lion, and the men have all like sort of abandoned and they're leaving because they're scared. He has this nightmare, and it's really obvious it's a nightmare as soon as the threat appears because his wife and child
yeah,
arrive in the train. They get off and they're looking for him, and he sees them from afar and he starts running towards them through the crowd, the busy train station crowd. And then you see the lion like slowly like prowling from the grass over to the side. And I'm like, okay, this is a nightmare. Then it's not real. But the entire thing, like no one else is noticing anything, no one else is reacting. The lion just is
yeah,
running towards her and like jumps at her like on the platform at the train station, and it's just the most ridiculous, silly thing. I was laughing the entire time. It's probably the most animated I got
yeah,
throughout the whole film was this ridiculous nightmare scene.
yeah. It's pretty funny. Um, because I went back on it and I remember watching it for the first time, going, "Oh no!" But I was also 11, so you're going, "Oh no! Oh no!" He just killed the one lion and now it's coming back for vengeance. And uh, and then yeah, no. Once everyone else starts not reacting, you realize something's up. And then when it takes her down, it's so choppy that it's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
the other thing as
So
well, of course, is that yeah, they eventually kill one of the two lions, and then I
mhm.
knew that Douglas was going to go because they had to even the odds. Like the other
um,
lion was going to even the
yep,
odds, so he dies, kind of in
yep,
a weird way as well. He's just kind of like missing from the tent, and they find like evidence of blood,
yep.
and it's like that's weird. I feel like for his character, he should have a bigger send off.
I wanted him to go out like Liam Neeson in the Gray. You know how he puts the bottle glass between his fingers, like Wolverine, like you see in the trailer. That's what I. So I was so stoked on the character when I was younger because he's like Alan Quartermain. He's the big game hunter. He's seen it all. He knows the tribesmen Like he's friendly with them and speaks their language, and you get the him and Kilmer clash heads because they're both really good at their jobs and they don't want to budge on either to do it the other guy's way. But like you said earlier, they end up
Yeah,
like
they almost don't clash
becoming
enough
friendly.
though, because I feel like right from the start,
Yeah.
Remington's like, "Hey, you can come and help hunt the lions because once I leave, you still have to build this bridge, and if you come with me, you'll still have the respect of the locals, as opposed to like being seen as the coward who couldn't solve the problem." And I'm like, so he's already been very considerate of him, and which is interesting because it's different than normal, but. Their friendship, because they bond over killing the lion, right? Because he has this plan where he's going to be up on this little platform, and then he falls down, and I don't know. I feel like they're doing this like bonding, this friendship between the two guys, and eventually they get drunk together and kind of like joke about things and whatever, and but it never really felt to me like they've really got to know each other, or like they'd overcome some like gaping void. Like outside of Michael Douglas getting mad at him at one point for bringing a gun that wasn't like tested because his gun misfired, and he's like, wait, you swapped your weapon and didn't test it, and you brought an untested weapon to hunt the lion, and he gets mad at him at that point. But it never felt like there was like I felt like Michael Douglas needed to disapprove of him until he helped kill the lion, and then that would have overcame like a hurdle for them. Instead, it's more like this kind of just very mild mistrust that's then fixed.
Yeah. It's almost just like, let me do my job and I'll let you do your job, and that's when they bond later. It just feels like they're just going through the motions. But so William Goldman did the script, and so he originally pitched it in like the early 90s, and it was, as he said, it was Lawrence of Arabia meets Jaws. That's how he envisioned it. And he wrote the script, and then it got sold. It was in development, and Michael Douglas' company picked it up, and he wanted to play Remington. And then because his production company picked it up, they kind of chopped up the character and made him, Michael Douglas made him more relevant, because his whole point was that he was going to show up and be this enigmatic character, almost like a ghost himself. Like he would almost be like this man, not out of time, but out of place. And then when he gets killed by the lion, it was meant to be like, oh, well, these lions are playing for keeps, because if they can take him out, and he has this reputation. But it kind of, when Michael Douglas took the role, he tweaked it a little bit too much and made him this like more down-to-earth, homey character. And I feel like it did the movie a disservice, because had he been that enigmatic character, I feel like that death scene, because it is so kind of mysterious, it lands a little better.
Yeah, because he feels fairly normal, despite the fact that he's this game hunter who understands the people. He feels relatively down to earth, so it doesn't feel like a big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas really what you want there is that they killed him, therefore they're even more dangerous. They're setting up the threat of the line.
Exactly.
You don't quite get that. It's never did. I don't know.
No.
There's something just very. I don't know. There's something missing with the overall tone. I think like there's this almost like laid back nature to the first half of the movie, and I don't know. I feel like there needs to be more stakes. There wasn't enough stakes.
Yeah, I mean, because they are building that bridge, and there's all the people, and so in the real story, the real Kilmer's character, his name again is John. Help me out here, Pete.
Sorry? Alright, John Henry
Patterson.
John Henry Patterson, yeah.
Yeah. So the real Patterson claims that 135 people were killed by these lions over the course of 9 months, from like May to December. And so had they ramped up the deaths, like you're just seeing people going left and right, I think that helps that out a little bit.
I think the other thing it needs as well in terms of stakes is like, it doesn't feel like he can leave if he wants. If he actually ends up being there longer than he's supposed to because he misses the birth of his kid, he could just leave. He could quit and leave, and he stays around. I feel like I don't know how you swing this in the plot, but like have some consequence for him. Have him on a ticking clock. Like he needs to deal with this or he can't go home. Like he doesn't get to go home until he's dealt with this, or or he doesn't, whatever. I don't know, like, but just something a bit more personal where instead it just kind of feels like he's determined to do it, and that, I mean, that can be good as well as the idea that he's just driven. He's like, like, no, I have to solve this problem, otherwise, for just out of self-respect, like, I have to do this out of pride.
Yeah, so I would have had him finish the bridge, even though, so in real life, the bridge didn't get finished until after the lions were killed, but you have the bridge almost near completion, so his actual work there is done. He stays because this lion, or this pair of lions has killed too many people in this area, and he needs to, make it right or whatever.
Yeah, I think I still think I feel like we need to know some more of the people who get killed a bit better to really care about them.
Yep.
Well, obviously Michael Douglas gets killed, but like before that, I mean, when it's really setting up the lines, like there's the assistant doctor guy, the Scottish guy who, I mean, he's okay, but like I never really felt like I got to know him beyond just a couple of pleasantries. It wasn't like he was super known.
Yeah.
He was recognizable because we'd seen him a few times. I felt like maybe some more likable characters who maybe get offed would have been a way of doing that.
One of the workers there gets killed after he says he's killed a lion with his bare hands, and then you see that the lions dragged him out and killed him, and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I think there's ways to fix it, but again,
yeah, I think you summed up. See, when you said it's going through the motions, that's kind of how I felt about the whole thing. It just felt like it was just going through what it's supposed to do, as opposed to actually really grabbing me and like pulling me in and saying, "Here, these lions are predators, and there's all this suspense because they might strike at any time." And despite the fact that that's technically the plot, they might strike at any time. I don't know. I honestly, I think that one of the biggest problems is that Patterson's a really dull character. He's really uninteresting.
Yeah. Yep, he is. He's supposed to be this great hunter that spent time in India and dealing with tigers, but I never get that vibe from him. Like, I kind of feel like he's always out of his depth. Even though he's supposed to be good at what he's doing, he seems like over his head, which you don't want to do.
Yeah, and it'd be fine if the plot acknowledged that, and it was like, no, it was about him proving that he wasn't out of his depth. Like, that could be a story, but I never felt that. Never felt that either.
Yeah. So some real facts about these lions, right? Is so they were in the movie. They're these big, what we think of as lions, at the big manes and whatnot. But in this region, the male lions tend to not have so many have manes. Either they have no manes at all, or they have very small tufts of manes because it's so hot. So these ones were going around maneless, killing people, which you would think you could notice something with a big mane coming at you, but the fact they were able to do it, I guess, added to their stealth a little bit more. Now, this is all from Patterson's book that the movie's based on. And then secondly, they were larger than normal. They both were over 9 feet long, which is super huge for a lion. So the fact that they had these big, huge, stealthy lions,
that's pretty big for most animals, to be fair.
Yeah, but for the most part, like, I don't know if you've been to a lot of zoos and stuff. Like, lions they're big, but they're not as big as you think they would be, right? Like, they're more compact. You can tell they're these big, muscly creatures. So the fact that you have these super-sized ones now, from nose to tail, being 9 feet, like, yeah, I can imagine being in 1898 coming across these and being completely having your mind blown. But the fact that Patterson still stuck through and he killed both of them, and in fact, it took the second one that he killed. So he killed him within a span of 20 days. Finally, one was in like December 9th. The other one was December 29th. The second one took 3 days and over 9 bullets to kill from those high-powered rifles. So, like, just think about that. Like, and it colors my opinion of the film a little bit differently, knowing all this now, that like the real story is almost better than what is given in the movie, but yeah,
like you could almost do like the final half of the movie should just be like him on his own tracking the lion who's wounded and like try to put him down. Like, you could do like a more almost Werner Herzog man versus nature kind of take on it. Like that'd be way more interesting. Werner Herzog's Ghost in the Darkness. I could go for that.
That would be. Because the according to Patterson, the second lion died while still charging him. Like, it ran him up a tree, and he finally shot it, and it died up in like gnawing on a tree branch trying to get to him. So now that you say that with Werner, I could kind of see that movie.
It's a shame we can't have Klaus Kinski playing the role, because it may not have been accurate to who he was, but I feel like Klaus Kinski versus Lions would have been a movie I'd watch.
Yeah. And didn't Herzog actually hate Kinski at a certain point?
Oh yeah, they had a love-hate relationship, but
yeah, so you could see him putting in there against real Lions and going, just deal with it. The fear's real.
You'll be fine.
Right?
Yeah, this is the thing though. I feel like Kinski was just crazy enough that he'd be for that. He'd be like, yes, let's make it real. Yeah. Yes, actual lions, yes.
Yeah. Can I ride the lion? But yeah, so this one's definitely a movie that I still enjoy. Like watching it through this time, it's still one like it didn't sour to me, but I definitely saw its flaws a little more than normal. But I think that's just from watching it all the way through again. And man, the pacing, like you said earlier, when you watch it in chunks, you don't notice the pacing, right? Because that's not what you're watching. You're watching scenes. But here, it feels like two different movies. Once Remington shows up, it becomes a different movie.
Yeah. It does feel like it changes. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a little bit dull. Pacing's quite poor. Uninteresting main character. It's hard to get motivated to root for him. It's hard to get motivated to root for anyone, to be honest. It's a really laid back like Jaws knockoff, and I get that it's based on a real thing, but that's still kind of what the movie's doing. It's very much a Jaws knockoff.
Well, that's from its inception. Even Goldman, the writer, said that it was, it meets Jaws. It's like one of those. I feel like Jaws and Die Hard are two movies where you can go, it's this mixed with Jaws or Die Hard. Like I'm trying to think what's a movie that's Die Hard in a whatever. I almost said Die Hard in a building, but that was Skyscraper and Die Hard. So,
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to me. You said Skyscraper first out of those two.
Well, I know because I was the joke when Skyscraper came out was it's Die Hard in a bigger skyscraper. Yeah. So, but I was trying to think there used to be some really good.
Is, Die Hard meets Jaws, since you keep saying those two.
There's a way to do it, and we'll figure it out. Let's not cut that out. Cut that out. We'll do that.
But yeah, so yeah, I think we should rate the movie. I think this will be a shorter episode than we typically hit, just because I feel like there's not a lot to really talk about beyond what we have done. Like like I say, characters are not very interesting. It's very laid back. I think the direction's like serviceable at best.
Yeah, like I do feel like the director captured the spirit of Africa, because we get a lot of these beauty shots of the surrounding area.
Yeah, but it's the action and the character, the character interaction that doesn't click.
Yeah. So. But hey, if you guys want to talk to me about this is one of my pet things. Like after I watched this, I started looking up when we can go to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I think we're gonna go next summer. Catch a baseball game at Wrigley Field and then go to the Field Museum, because I need to see these lions.
Yeah, I feel like when he's going into the grass, it should feel like going into no man's land, like it's completely dangerous. And I never felt like it was, not until they got to the line. Like.
Well, you summed up. It kind of lacks stakes. Yeah. Like you never feel like Patterson's that in.
Again,
I mean,
danger. Not to just compare it to Jaws, but just this is a big thing in Jaws. The minute someone's foot touches the water in Jaws, you're like, oh no, that's dangerous. And I never got that feeling in this. I never got that feeling. As soon as they're in the grass, oh no, terrible, dangerous. So,
right. So what are you rating it, Pete?
This may seem harsh.
It's below 5.
Yeah, I'll go with a 4.5.
Okay.
I feel like it's very average, but it's just mediocre enough that I think I have to go below the 5. So I'm going with 4.5.
Gotcha. So I like it significantly more than you, as we can tell. So, but upon a rewatch, it's taken some knocks. So it's a 6.5.
I love how you picked a movie for Overload and then ended up giving it a 6.5. That's fascinating to me.
Again, it's one that I was trying to find stuff that you haven't seen. So, and when you said you hadn't seen this one, it jumped to the front of the list. Okay. But the next one that I submitted is definitely, I can't see me giving it below a certain score.
Well,
even upon a
the
rewatch.
next one, I've definitely seen your pick next one. So
Yeah.
the vote right now on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. If you're a patron or you're thinking about becoming a patron for the next Overload for next month, you by the time this goes up, you'll have maybe a few days left to vote. Although that said, this goes up early for patrons, so that's the only patrons will see this before they can still vote for this one. But it's Matt picked Twister, and then I thought it'd be really funny to pick Speed, because on the poster for Twister it says from the director of Speed, and I thought that was really funny.
Well, this is great. I enjoy both of those movies for different reasons.
So we'll be getting some 90s action. So for some reason, we're still in the 90s for some reason. For some reason, the 90s is the theme right now.
I think we found our groove of these are movies that aren't too recent that maybe one of us haven't seen, so like I haven't seen Speed probably since 1998.
Interesting.
So yeah, so it'll almost be a new watch to me versus Twister. I've seen numerous times.
So that'll be one of those two will be the next Overload next month. So you can look forward to that. But do go over to Patreon, have a look, see if you want to support the channel, the show, everything we do here. You can, of course, if you can't do that, of course, you can watch ads. You can turn your ad block off, like, subscribe, comment, share us about, all those things. They all help. But that is us. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates and to ask us questions and the like. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We appreciate it. We love you loads. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.